Today, we're looking at an orange ink from Kyo Iro, and I have to read it. Moonlight of Higashiyama. I know I butchered that. Hi, I'm Adam, and I'm an ink guy. I get inks, test them, and share the results with you. Now, as always, there's timestamps down below so that if you're in a hurry, you can skip around. But if you got the time, check out the entire video. Also, if you're interested, you can follow me over on Instagram. And if you're new here, I would invite you to subscribe. I do a new ink review daily. In order to make sure I have a range of experience with this ink, I do the writing samples. I then put the ink into this Pierre Cardin President with a medium nib, wrote with it for a day, and used it to take the notes for the video. I standardized my first writing sample by using Clairfontaine, Tomoe River, and Rhodia paper on all of the tests that I do. I do use other papers, and some of those will show up later in the video. Now, let's look at the writing sample. I picked this ink up in sample form, which means it comes in a vial, something like this. And to keep my writing samples consistent, I use a Jinhao 159 with a Goulet 1.1 stub, a Jinhao X450 with a Goulet medium, and a Jinhao X750 with a Goulet extra fine. Let's take a look at the Clairfontaine. We get no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo sheen, and no real shading there. Now the extra fine is significantly lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, and some decent shading throughout. Look at the word quick. Starts much darker, gets much lighter, to a nice medium tone on the K, but the I is very dark at the dot. Brown starts darker, works its way lighter. Fox starts lighter, gets dark in the bottom loop, medium tone into the O, and very dark at the X. Nice stuff. And 5 seconds to dry. Now medium is quite a bit darker than the extra fine, but not quite as dark as the stub. The medium has no feather spread, halo sheen, and almost no shading to speak of. 6 seconds to dry. The scrubby of the extra fine shows us some color variation, which we see. The medium shows us none, and we really didn't get any. How about Tomoe River? No bleeding, normal Tomoe River ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, and no shade. The extra fine is quite a bit lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade. 8 seconds to dry. The medium is darker than the extra fine, right about the same tone as the stub. The medium has no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade. 10 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show us no color variation. We didn't expect it, and we didn't get it. Rhodia. No bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, and no shade. Very dark tone. The extra fine is way darker, way lighter than the stub. It has no feather spread, halo sheen, but it does offer some nice shading throughout. Like quick, starts light at the top of the Q, dark at the bottom of the Q. Lighter into the U, but dark at the U. It's nice. Brown, same thing. Light at the top, dark at the bottom of the B. It works its way darker, but then works its way lighter at the O to the N. Very nice shading, and 6 seconds to dry. Now medium is quite a bit darker than the extra fine, but nowhere near as dark as the stub. It has no feather spread, halo sheen, and no shade. 7 seconds to dry. Scrubby of the extra fine shows us plenty of color variation, and we got. Scrubby of the medium shows us none, and we got none. I agree with Vita that I've learned a lot by doing multiple chromatographies. The one on the left is done the way it's supposed to be done. I put a line of ink down and immediately put it in the water for 10 to 15 seconds. And we see this is a true orange dye. It pushes its way up very light right where the water was and gets darker as it moves up, as it does with any dye that is one pure tone. The one on the right I let dry for 10 minutes before I dunk it into water. And the noticeable thing is that as the ink pushed up, it is a little bit darker, which makes me say it has a little bit of bonding with the filter paper as it moves up, but I'm really not expecting any kind of resistance here. Resistance tests are done to see how well this ink can be expected to perform on the page and how hard it may be to clean from your pen. I let the smear dry for 3 days before testing it.
Looking at the highlighter, look at the capital H. Don't use this in a note-taking situation if you want to go back and highlight, because you might lose something entirely. Water is reactivating and lifting it completely off the page, but in only 30 seconds it hasn't gotten there yet. But it will, and it did when I cleaned my pen. Pen flush does everything that water does, and really nothing more. You see the white of the paper, but there's no need for the pen flush. And the 1/3 bleach solution, as you would expect, obliterates it. But again, water is all that you need to clean this out of your pen. For the inks I've tested, I have found an average viscosity of 2.5, with a realm of normal being from 2.1 to 2.9. I'm also linking a video that shows how I do my testing and my calculations. Kyo Iro's Moonlight of Higashiyama has a viscosity of 2.3, making it normal. To find my average dry times, I use my writing samples done on Clairfontaine, Tomoe River, and Rhodia paper. I average all of those. Now, for the inks I've tested, I found an average dry time of 17 seconds, with a realm of normal being from 13 to 21 seconds. Kyo Iro's Moonlight of Higashiyama has an average dry time of 7 seconds, making this a very, very fast drying ink. Instead of finding inks that look like Kyo Iro's Moonlight of Higashiyama, I would prefer to find an ink that complements its color on the page, and I wanted a nice purple. I chose Diamine's Damson. Oh my god, I've had so much trouble saying this name. The second writing sample is done on yellow Rhodia, black and red notebooks, and Franklin Christoph paper. Here we're looking at the yellow Rhodia to see what kind of color change we might experience for being on a yellow backdrop opposed to white. And in the stub, it's got this little bit of a, it brings out this leaning brown in its darkest spots. So in the Y, it's got this moments of leaning brown. Now, on the extra fine, I really don't see any kind of tone difference, which is odd that you don't see it in the lighter, but you do see it in the darker. And the same thing's happening with the medium. This yellow is affecting the orange in a way that you're bringing out this, it's got this weird brown feel to it, and it's a little more obvious with the yellow paper. Black and red notebooks. No bleeding and no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, and no shade. Now the extra fine is quite a bit lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade, 3 seconds to dry. Medium is darker than the extra fine, but not as dark as the stub, with no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade, 3 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show us no color variation. We didn't expect it, and we didn't get it. How about Franklin Christoph paper to end it? No bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 is no feather spread, halo sheen, and no shade. The extra fine is quite a bit lighter than the stub. It has no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade. 3 seconds to dry. The medium is by far the darkest tone on the paper. It has no feather spread, halo sheen, and no shade, 4 seconds to dry. Now the extra fine scrubby shows us some color variation, but it's really not there. The medium shows us none, and we got none, and that is all that I have for the writing sample. So what do I think of Kyo Iro's Moonlight of Higashiyama? The tone that goes down is absolutely amazing. It shades great. It looks good with no matter what pen I'm using and no matter what paper I'm putting it on. Am I selling you on trying a sample? This stuff looks awesome. So what nib and pen will give the best writing experience with this ink? While it will always look good out of every pen that I used it in, I can only choose one to say, really go with this. I chose a dry broad to really show the color and make the shading stand out as absolutely amazing. And it does. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. And if it's your first time here, I'm going to remind you, if you enjoyed it, subscribe. Thanks for watching.